Nicole's a presenter, and Nicole has over 18 years' experience as a medical educator in the School of Medicine at both Griffith and Bond universities. She's been involved in the writing, implementation and facilitation of problem-based learning and communication.
So thanks so much for being here, and for those people online, bear with me and have an open heart, because there is going to be lots of different things we're going to try and I'm going to expose you to, and some of them you probably have already, and it's going to consolidate the practice that you have. But I just really want to share some of the things that I do with my medical students, and it's quite interesting because
When money starts.
Don't start. Okay, so it's like we're going to hold on to the sweet that you picked. It's all good. Even though it's fine. And so for you people online, if you've got something there that you can possibly hold on to and be prepared to eat. So what we've got is obviously violet crumbles and clinkers, so out of those two sweets. And what I want you all to do is to have a little look at the sweet. So hold it in your hands and have a look at the contours, the shape, what it actually looks like. And then I want you need one, Amanda.
No, but I'm wondering what presentation I'm in.
It sounds like my medical students, actually, they're like, seriously, we came here to study anatomy and physiology and you're telling us to look at a chocolate. But the idea is to just stop. We have such busy lives. So let's have a little look. Can you bring it up to your nose and smell it? Smell all around it. Is it bringing back memories of anything? You know, when you eat certain chocolates, it reminds you of childhood. And then move it around in your hands. And then I encourage you to close your eyes and be really present with the sweet that you're about to eat. If you have a clinker, think about what colour you might be about to bite into and see if you're right. With that violet crumble, what I want you to do with any chocolate, any treat that you're holding, is also be grateful that we have these beautiful sweets that we can share together. And then very slowly with your eyes closed, just to take a very small bite and very mindfully savour it. Some people like to look around it. You can do whatever. No one's watching you. I'm not watching. My eyes are closed too. And really take in the taste of what that chocolate is. The outside, when you've even bitten into the candy of the clinker, or the deliciousness of that crumble. That's my favourite bit of the violet crumble, that honeycomb. And I want you to really slowly, mindfully eat. And be present with the sensations that you're feeling as you chew, as you smell, and as you think. And I want this to be the slowest that you've ever eaten. Thank you all so much for doing this and being present. I can see you are savouring the honeycomb or the clinker. I wonder if you got the colour right, if you had the clinker, and just slowly finishing off. And then you're welcome to eat the rest of the chocolates, and you don't have to be as mindful as that one. But it's nice to just stop, because as we know, our lives are so busy. And what you've just engaged in is mindful practice. A lot of people think it's sitting, being a yogi, and doing deep breaths and getting on with nature, but it's just slowing down, feeling grounded and being present. And so mindful eating is really crucial to our mindfulness practice. All right, so that's just one of the activities we're going to engage with today. So thank you all for taking that slowly. You'll see that on your table you've got a ConnectedLE journal, and there should be pens around, and I will get you to engage with that journal as we move through. Because I am going to provide you with lots of different resources and activities and things that you can use, and then you can take your journal home, and I want to encourage you to use it, put it in your bedside table, and hopefully engage with it maybe once a week, once a month. There's no pressure, but it's a nice way to sort of connect with your thoughts and how you're feeling, jot down your values, and we're going to do a few of those things today. All right, so we're going to do the ABC of staff burnout, and I feel really sorry if anyone's sitting here feeling quite burnt out, but hopefully we get some strategies to move forward. So we're going to be looking at the awareness of the causes and consequences of burnout, looking at recognising the signs and symptoms, so within ourselves and our friends, family and colleagues, so we can help. And I want to give you some tools to be able to help yourself and help others. And that's what our competency is all about. The strategies that can help to reduce burnout in the primary care team, and also the importance of self-care. I'm a work in progress with this too. Please don't think I'm trying to preach at you. This is all evidence-based. These are all of the things that I do and I live by and I swear by and I share with all of my friends, family and my medical colleagues and get really good feedback. So I'm really passionate about this and really keen to share it with you all today. So I just wanted to start by telling you a little bit about myself and my new business that we've started this year. My best friend and I, Kylie Armstrong, who actually used to live in Townsville. She lived here for 5 years and worked within the primary health care here. Her and I have been educators for a long time and have decided that we wanted to start our own mental health and wellbeing company called ConnectedLE. And it's connecting through lived experience. And it's real people telling their stories about what's been going on in their life. So I thought I could start by practicing what I preach and tell you a little bit about myself. So I grew up in Gladstone and Townsville was like the place to come for a holiday, and it was so great. I haven't been back for 30 years and it was incredible to walk the Strand today. I had to swim in the ocean and I just couldn't get over how beautiful it was. So I graduated from school in Gladstone, went to Brisbane, studied teaching, and my first job was at Moranbah State High School. I then moved to Mackay North State High School, then went back to Gladstone, and then I've been teaching in Brisbane and then the Gold Coast. And when I was pregnant 17 years ago with my first son, I decided I just wanted to work 2 days a week. And so got a job at the Griffith University Medical School when it opened, and I've been there ever since. And I absolutely love what I do. So I do problem-based learning, which is looking at the anatomy and physiology of things that are going on in the body. And then my real passion is communication skills. So that's the doctors having the clinical expertise but not forgetting their bedside manner. So learning names. Who would have thought that's so important? They were like, oh, I'm no good with names. I'm like, that is a cop-out. We need to all learn to remember people's names. It's key to communication. It means so much to people if you can try and retain a name. So I see that as my goal with my students, is to not just let them be textbook savvy, but to actually listen, make eye contact. So we do empathy training, we do reflective practice, and we do mindfulness, and all that alongside taking a good clinical history. So I've been doing that. I'm also a marriage and funeral celebrant on the side. So that's what I do on weekends, dress up and marry people, because my passion is people and I love. So I just love being part of someone's special day. When you see that bride walk down the aisle, there is nothing quite like it, and I feel so honoured to be part of somebody's day. I'm also very lucky that I've married lots of my medical students and then I get to party on with them, so I have a lovely time. And I've put one of those photos up there. My husband is a teacher as well, so I have first-hand experience with burnout with him, particularly through COVID, like you guys are all experiencing, and I'm really sorry for what you are experiencing because it is really hard. It's a hard job anyway, and then throw in a global pandemic. And I have 3 children. My eldest son, Harry, there has just graduated year 12. We're going to talk about stress. My cortisol levels have been the highest they've ever been in their life, watching him go through ATAR and then hit schoolies week. Thank God, I was just saying to Jen, he's flown to Tasmania today to do some abalone fishing, and I'm like, okay, we're out of surfers paradise, we're all good. So that's Harry. Then I've got Emmy, and she's in year 9. What a challenge year 9 is for girls. And then I've got Archie in year 7. So that's my little family. You can see my little PBL team over there, and that's my business partner there, Kylie, from ConnectedLE. My experience with burnout was when I had Archie, our surprise 3rd child. How a biology teacher can't get everything right, I don't know. But anyway, surprise, here we are with the 3rd child. My husband had his 3rd back operation for chronic back pain. He couldn't even pick the children up. I was working at uni, loving it. So it wasn't like it wasn't burnout from work. I just had absolute fatigue and running on empty, trying to raise 3 children, had a mouthful of ulcers. I'd lost 10 kilos in weight, and I was iron deficient anemic, and I have never felt so low. I had no empathy. I just was the lowest point that I could have ever felt. Didn't care about anything. I just wanted to go to hospital, to be honest. Thought something's not right. What is going on here? The only thing I could eat was bananas. Otherwise I'd have diarrhea, and lo and behold, I got diagnosed with celiac disease. And so as soon as I started to get my health right, I could pick myself back up. So the key message that I want to leave with you all is that if you are feeling like you're fatigued, the first thing you need to do is rule out any medical condition, whether it be malnourishment, an endocrine disorder, depression, sleep issues. They all, there's no strict set of criteria for burnout. So it's really important that you find out what's going on and then address it. So I was glad now I know what's going on. Now if I touch any bit of gluten, I start vomiting. So it's quite full on. So that's a little bit about me. Let's start with awareness. So as we know, I'm sure burnout is common amongst very caring professions. I mean, that's the reason we got into these roles, because we care about people. We want to be at the front line, welcome them, make them feel, they're part of what's going on. Really common, teachers, doctors, nurses. Last year, the World Health Organization actually defined burnout as an occupational syndrome. And in the International Classification of Disease, this is their definition. It is a syndrome conceptualised as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. So it's stress that just keeps going on and on. And there's 3 dimensions to it. So like I was saying, that feeling of fatigue or depletion, exhausted, and then you don't sleep, then you worry about everything. You've got increased mental distance from your job, also from your own feelings, and reduced efficacy. So you've lost sort of connection and that feeling of power with your work and with your own life balance. So common is this whole picture of physical and emotional exhaustion, that loss of empathy, not caring about yourself and not caring about others, and that reduced personal achievement. So we talked, and I know Jen's talked about this as well, and all of us experience stress. And a little bit of stress is okay because it keeps us moving, that fight or flight. But it's when it goes on and on and on that it has problems. So that chronic stress. I like this idea. They say stress is when you've got too much going on, too many demands. Whereas burnout is when you haven't got enough energy to keep going. You're just fully depleted. But stress prolonged will lead to burnout if we don't manage it. And that's what we want to address tonight. It affects our memory, our executive function, and managing our own emotions. And so therefore we make more mistakes. We tend to find it harder to make decisions. Are you all relating to this? Is everyone fit? You've all been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about, how hard it is to plan and organise. You're just absolutely running on empty. That fuel gauge is low and it's hard to even think. So we've talked, obviously we know that you guys are under extreme amount of pressure and more so at this time, unfortunately. You've got increased workloads. You've probably got less staff on the front line, increased work hours. There's definitely more organisational monitoring. There's more demands in terms of technology. Sometimes you're expected to answer questions in terms of telehealth, whatever it might be. And then we've got financial demands as well. We have our own desire to be perfect and like the social media that it portrays, and also societal pressures as well for perfection in every domain of our lives. And then we've got all of those other expectations. So we've just talked about from your clients, from patients, from managers, and sometimes even from your family. We talk about that emotional labour that we take on. Now, once the primary care team burn out, even if it's not even leading to burnout, you're just stressed for a constant period of time, more likely to experience anxiety and depression and even self-harm. And this Dr. Amy Imms, she's a Tasmanian GP who has started, and I've just got it up here on the board, and I will refer to her again so you can get this down, but she has started the Burnout project because she burned out as a GP with a young family. And you're not going to believe it, but this week she has a free Thrive symposium, and you can just register online. I've been listening to it through the day. It is incredible, the experts that she's got on, talking similar, some of the things that I'm talking about here tonight. She also has free books, she's got free handouts. So if there's anyone you need, or even for yourself, remember the Burnout Project, because she is excellent. And this Thrive Symposium, it finishes on Saturday, and you can go back and listen to some of the experts. Really great. It's all about beating burnout with balance. So they've got mindfulness, and then they've got dietitians. She's covered the whole spectrum. So really, really important. And as we know, her quote here is, none of us are designed to be stressed all the time. Eventually, there's a limit to the stress that we can endure, and we burn out. So you know what I mean? If our resources, if we just can't keep giving, then it's going to take a toll on us physically and emotionally. And I'm sure there's no surprises here too. Burnout linked to so many things. So obviously sleep issues, memory loss, whether it be some sort of substance abuse, using alcohol to either numb the pain. You're so exhausted, so fatigued, definitely making more mistakes. Our cognitive abilities decline because of the stress. We're feeling isolated. We withdraw socially. So there's lots going on there, because we just don't have any more energy to give, no more resources. And really it's no one's problem, it's no one's fault. And this is what we want to talk about here today, that it's not an individual problem. It's definitely an organisational problem. And it is contagious. It's contagious within people that we work with, because we know what it's like. We're working with, when things are negative, it just kind of culminates and everything becomes negative. But what they found with teachers when they're burnt out, that even their students had elevated cortisol levels. And it has an impact as well on our clients and our patients. And what they found by doing a lot of research, that it comes down to that lack of efficacy, not feeling as though you're making a difference, you don't have meaningful work, or you're not able to achieve what you want to achieve. And that's what they're saying here. The single strongest predictor of engagement at work is a sense of daily progress. I wonder if everyone can relate to that. Now, you may have seen this Bodenheim ad. So in 2015, they talked about the triple aim of effective primary care. And then they added in the fourth quadrant. And the fourth quadrant, which is basically what we're talking about here today, is that improved provider experience. Because the provider has to have satisfaction to be able to deliver effective health care. And as we've just talked about as well, it affects our patients because we have less empathy. We have less empathy, we've got less to give, and therefore we've got less patient satisfaction. We're less satisfied, they're less satisfied. So that's that contagious issue that we're talking about. More mistakes, and an overuse of resources. It's interesting, I've just put the 7 needs that we need from work there, and that is to fulfill like our basic needs. So be able to provide financially, to have a roof over our head, but we also want to be able to feel like we've contributed in some meaningful way. We want to be seen, definitely want to connect. I mean, that is a human basic need, is to have connection, to learn creatively, and to feel supported to grow, whether that be professional development, but that your needs are met. And that's really important in terms of provider experience. And some of you might even want to talk to this, being the front office staff and COVID, and this is sort of just going on from what Jen was saying as well. Not only are you expected to be friendly, welcoming, organised, and start to increasingly undertake clinical duties, but then we throw in that global pandemic and the workloads just absolutely quadrupled in terms of, as I said, technical support, who gets the face-to-face appointment, vaccination. Then you've got threats. You've got the threat yourself of contracting COVID-19, and then there's more of those emotional demands. All right, so now we're going to look at the signs and the symptoms of burnout. And what I would encourage you now to do in your ConnectedLE journal is just to open up, and we just want you to think about these 10 questions. And I realise that maybe it might be a sometimes. You might not feel it all the time. And if it's a sometimes, think about why it's sometimes. Is it certain people that trigger you, or is it on certain days? So just 1 to 10, and then have a little think whether it's a yes or a no.
When you say use alcohol to de-stress, I don't use alcohol. I don't class it as de-stressing because I don't go home stressed.
Yeah.
But I do like to have a glass of bread for the evening.
Same, then that's fine.
So that's a no. Then I
That's
don't
a no.
use alcohol. And you can't be.
Yeah. And that's good, isn't it, to rectify in yourself that it's something you enjoy to do rather than having a bottle to just get over the terrible day you've had at work. And so that's just a good chance to reflect as well.
Well, it's a debrief. It's just not a de-stress.
And that's good. Debrief is better than de-stress. And if you can stop at 1 or 2, then you're fulfilling, the alcoholic guidelines, so we're all good.
I love it.
Because I myself, I love a glass too, and Jen, I can't wait to have one together to celebrate. So there are numerous questionnaires like this online, but what you've got to say to yourself, if you've answered yes or sometimes to one of those 10 questions, then you have to start to think, maybe I need to take care of myself because, and I think it's really common, sometimes we do have difficulty sleeping, particularly if you're an emotional person, you've taken on what's happened during the day, but it's just good to be aware of how you're feeling. You do a quiz. If you answer yes to any of these, basically it comes up, yes, you're stressed, be careful, you could be on burnout. And Amy has 15 questions and you can submit it and then they follow up with a little, please be careful, look after yourself. So you all know they're the characteristics of if you should be aware of your health and you're leading down the track towards too much stress to burnout. So it's just good to reflect. All right, now, this is where I want you in your journal, just underneath what we've just done there, is to start to think about what issues are you facing at work? So is it lack of staff? Is it systemic factors? And unfortunately, a lot of times they're things we can't control. But let's write them down anyway. Let's just get them out there on our journal. And if anyone wants to talk, you're very welcome. But I know sometimes it's easy to just jot down. And then I want you to think about individual factors. So what are you finding? Is it hard for you to exercise? Do you find it hard to, nourish your body? Just be really honest with yourself. No one else needs to see this. And then I'll give you some time to think about what you could do in terms of systemic factors that you could change as a wish list, and then to think about what you could do personally. So I'll give you 5 minutes. You are so welcome to talk to the person next to you. I'm so sorry, you people online, maybe you can just jot it down and then we'll have a bit of a discussion. But I'll give you 5 minutes to think about this one. I'm also wondering if the people online, if you want to type in, Kayla, if you don't mind, just, if there's any systemic factors, and then we can have a compare to everyone in here. I'm sure it'll be something similar. I know last night it was things like just lack of staff, and then it was certain people. So I'll be interested. So if you're willing to share, that'd be great. Does anyone, I've got to remember the microphone. Does anyone want to share their systemic, like in terms of organisational, would you all say that it's just lack of staff? I'm just interested. Are we getting any responses online? Yeah, you're saying the same thing, just you reduce staff and so the pressures on you are greater. Anything else? Anyone? GPs. Yeah, we actually, that's up north. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. No one wants to come up north. How could they not? It's beautiful here and it's so quiet. Like, yes, I live on the Gold Coast. It's a rat race. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's just so busy. It's so nice to just breathe and hear birds. So good. So that's interesting. So like a GPs, other things?
Retraining staff from, particularly from other cities. And we did it this way where I was. We did it that way. And having to continuously say, oh, that's great, I'm glad it worked there, but here we are here and this is the way that we prefer to do it. And it's a recurring issue. So, I mean, even, 5 or 6 months in and I'm still revisiting the same things over and over again. And so it's very rapidly coming to the point where it needs to be addressed on another level.
Yeah, for sure.
I find that quite difficult, and I'm very grateful for the talent and that they bring, and the ideas, always open for the ideas. But when it is continuously thrown at me, you know, we did it like this, and when I was there, and yeah, there's only so many times you can hear it if we start. You know, I have to stop myself from rolling my eyes and you know, dismissing it. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be dismissive. I want to be able to be, you know, to give them enough confidence to be able to come to me and say, look, we did it this way. What do you think? Without every time I say, look, can we do it this way? Then say, but that's not how I used to do it. So that's something that's recurring for me at the moment. I mean, I'm hoping that we're almost at the end of it.
I hope so. That is really frustrating.
It is, and it's not over a lot of things, and it's not big things. It's not, you know, it's not game-changing things, but it is something that I, you know, when I was at.
And that just is increasing your workload, which is exactly what we're talking about
well,
here,
the thing that it makes me do is it means that I need to then overview, you know, everything that has taken place in order for it to be done the way that we were expecting it to be. And it's not necessarily that they're doing it incorrectly. It's just not the way that everybody else is trying to look at it, you know, or look for it in you know, for want of a better word. But that's one that comes up with me.
Yeah.
Oh, do we have some online?
Yeah, so we've got a couple online. So lack of doctors.
Lack of doctors, same thing.
Lack of government funding to attract the doctors. Staff turnover with reception due to COVID, and the little things that add up.
Okay, that's it. And you guys agree? Yeah.
Frequency and change. I think just like the whole, when you mentioned before about the news, out in the news before it's filtered down, but there's just like the frequency of change.
Of course, yeah, all the policy, yeah, even I can't keep up with it all. I'm like, what's going on? So I don't even know how you guys do it at the front line. And then people just tend to think you've got the answers, and Queensland Health have just released something, you know, only hours before, and you haven't had a chance to catch up. So yeah, it's hard.
We just get abused when we don't have the answers.
Oh, so hard. Yeah, I really feel for you. And then there's a lot that we can't do, but individually, let's look at a couple of things moving forward as to what we might be able to do in terms of self-care. But before that, and these are signs that you'll notice within yourself, but what we should recognise within our colleagues as well, with family and friends. Anyone avoiding that work chit-chat. So start to just go, this is a red flag. What is going on? They're different to what they usually are. They seem more exhausted. They're having more days off. Or if this is personally happening to you, you need to talk to somebody. Just that low mood, more irritable, angry, sleep disturbances, that lack of motivation, hard to get tasks started, then lots of mistakes within the tasks, and that fog. And I know you've probably all experienced that brain fog when you're just absolutely depleted. And then any sort of aches, headaches, time off work, they're things to recognise in our colleagues. And then to just ask, how are you? Is everything okay? So we can follow up. All right, so here we get to some strategies, and I'm sure you've heard of lots of these, but if we can just have a little look at some of the evidence behind them. I think this is one of the most important things, and that is being kind to ourselves. Self-compassion. The leading expert on this is Dr. Kristen Neff, and she has basically talked about 3 key elements of self-compassion, and that's self-kindness, so that you have positive talk to yourself. We all make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. Don't be harsh to yourself. Be kind with your words, with your thoughts to yourself, like you would to others. Recognising our common humanity. Everyone suffers. Everyone goes through pain. Together, if we can address that and get people to lean in and be vulnerable, then we can support others, and hopefully other people will support us. As I said to you guys, I'm also a funeral celebrant. I don't do too many funerals, thank goodness. But when I do, it really takes me a long time to recover. And this time last year, one of our close friends, JC, died of a melanoma, and he left behind 3 children. His son, who just finished year 12, luckily got to see him graduate. His second daughter, who's intellectually disabled and blind, and his third daughter, who was in grade 8 at the time. And he decided what he wanted was not everyone to grieve for him, but to celebrate. So I was like, okay, we can do this. And what he did was he got a beautiful brown coffin, and put all skating and surfing stickers on. He got his brother to just design and make sure. And then he had about 20 Nico pens all around the coffin. And the idea was when you walked in, that you'd go and sign it. And so we were all struggling with our loss, this common humanity. He drew us in. We wrote beautiful messages, people laughed, people cried, but it was so empowering for his 3 children to see everyone and to read the messages and for us to all be together. And it kind of lifted the mood. It was a really powerful thing, and I'd highly recommend it to anyone if somebody young dies, because it was really beautiful. And so we all recognised we loved him, we grieved him, and we were all joined together in that, and it was powerful. So be vulnerable, lean in, get help, talk to people, recognise your emotions, otherwise you will combust. So it's really important to tell people this is how I'm actually feeling today, and be honest. And mindfulness. So we've done mindful eating. Jen took us through some mindful breathing. I'm going to take you through another little activity when I get up to my mindfulness, but very interesting. And we know that oxytocin is our beautiful feel-good chemical, and we know that by patting dogs, that releases it. So it's really nice to feel that connection and that positive emotion with that oxytocin. Now, connections, strong connections are everything. This is why we called our business ConnectedLE, because we're all about connecting people. And if you have a strong connection, it really does make a difference to your physical and your mental health. So what I want to encourage you all to do now in your journals is to think about somebody that you really, really like and you haven't connected with them for a while because we're all so busy, let's face it. We've got full lives. You may not have reached out. Maybe you could write their name down and later tonight just send a little text and just say, hey, thinking of you. Such a nice thing to do for yourself, but then think about that receiver on the other end. You know, just through COVID, I just happened to send something to a friend in Melbourne. It was just sort of, you know, how are you going? And it just absolutely, she said, I'm no good. She sent back, I'm no good. And then I just picked up the phone and I thought, of course you're no good. You've got 2 children at home, you're trying to homeschool them, and you're trying to work a full-time job and you can't go anywhere, and you've experienced the longest lockdown out of anyone in the world. So please think about reaching out. It's such a lovely thing to do. And then you never know what might come from that. I love Brene Brown, and so this quote here, I think on connection, sums up how important connections are and what she defines connection. And it absolutely is that energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. And that's coming back to that active listening, really asking people how they are, but listening to what they're saying, not having our own agenda. So when you can give and receive without judgment, and when you get sustenance and strength from the relationship. Oh, actually, I meant to say this. These on the right-hand side over there, this is my extended family, and we love bushwalking together, love getting out in nature. And this is our family farm out of Burnout. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Burnout, but it's about an hour from Brisbane and it's just stunning. So yeah, we were just there recently in the holidays, and this is at our launch of ConnectedLE. We only launched a month ago, and that was through Queensland Mental Health Week. And it was just beautiful to have all our young people who are part of our ConnectedLE community there. So I had to include that photo. Now, purpose and values. You hear lots of terminology, you know, you've got to have a purpose. What is your value system? But it's really simple if you break it all down. And what you want to do is think about what values do I want to live by and what purpose do I want to live with? And my favourite guru of all of this is Ben Crowe. I wonder if any of you guys have heard of him. He sort of became famous with Ash Barty winning Wimbledon. And everyone's like, you know, what is it that made her? And it was his mindfulness. He's a life coach. He helped her. He's helped Steph Gilmore. He used to work for Nike and all about storytelling. And he's gone on to have a very successful business because he talks about your values and what is your purpose. And you want to live with connection. So you can follow him for free and you can do his whole purpose and value. It's on Mojo Crow, so I've left it there for you. But one thing that I would love you to do now in your journal is to think about your top 3 values. And I've got the core values. What is it that you value most when you see other people or you think about yourself in terms of a value system? For example, my 3 are kindness, empathy, and warmth. They're my 3. Kindness is probably the overall. When people are kind, I think it's life-changing. I think it really makes a difference. So that's what I've tried to instill in my children, is to live by kindness. So have a think. It might not be yours and you don't have to share with me, but think also about who you admire and why you might admire them. Is it because of their value system? So top 3 values. So people at home, hopefully you've got online, you've got some notebook paper, you can write down some values. There's definite evidence-based telling us that if we live with a sense of purpose, then we have reduced inflammation, reduced heart disease, we've got slower cognitive decline and better nutrition. And they talk about serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, nature's feel-good chemicals being released. It's hard to do. We do this with our medical students from a list of 100. You have to get down to 50, then you have to get down to 10, and then get down to 3. It's difficult. So if you can just start to think, and then you might even refine it as time goes on, you think back. But when I followed Ben Crow and his idea of living with purpose, this is what I ended up coming with. So you go through, you put your value system, and ask you a few other questions. Who am I? What do I want? And basically, my purpose came down to, I want to connect with others with warmth, kindness, and empathy. And that was just sort of following instruction. I thought, wow, that is exactly what I want to do. And that's exactly what I hope that I'm doing in all the work that I do in the medical school and in my weddings and funerals. Now, this is interesting, and this will relate to you guys on the front desk when people are rude to you. And this is what they call incivility, that rudeness. So what we want to live with is civility and encourage that kindness by clear communication. It's not always easy to do. It's out of our control a lot of times, isn't it? Particularly at the moment. So what Dr. Christine Porath talks about here is bandwidth. And your bandwidth is basically what makes you up, the person that you are. And so what she says is you need to protect the person that you are. You need to protect your mental bandwidth, because if you don't, then you start to make irrational decisions. And it's true. When we're running on empty, when we're feeling depleted, we don't make good decisions. So if we can protect our bandwidth, our mental bandwidth, then we're stronger with our purpose. So it all sounds really great. I know it's hard when people are rude to you because that definitely destroys your bandwidth. So what you need to do is start to think, what is it that gives me energy? What is it that depletes it? So obviously hearing here, it's rudeness. It's some people that suck the energy from you, from their negativity. So what you want to do is try and avoid some of those people. Not easy in our jobs, I know. But think about what is it that gives me energy, and you want to try and incorporate that into your day. So for me, I've shared with you already, I'm an ocean swimmer. I absolutely need you. I knew today I had to get into that ocean. So I was asking everyone, where can I go? Where can I swim? And then I found the protected area, which was great. So I dunked myself. I was all good. And I do that on a daily basis. That's what gives me energy. I do it through winter as well. I just have to get in the ocean. Some people, it's walking the dogs in the morning. You've got to find what it is that fills your cup so that your cup is full to be able to then give to others, and then figure out what depletes it. And that's what Christine Porath is saying. How you turn up and treat people is everything. And so incivility will break down your bandwidth, so you're try and build it up again. And like Jen was saying, whether that's going for a walk, whether it's having a cup of tea, whether it's talking to someone, try and protect your bandwidth. Now, stress leads to rudeness, because we know we've got that cognitive decline, we've got that fog, and that shuts down our brains. But Deakin University professor, I wonder if any of you guys have heard of her, Catherine Crock. She runs the Hush Foundation, and she's all about art, music and play within her practice at the Royal Children's Hospital. And she's very much about turning up and saying to people, how actually are you? How's your day? And listening to their response. Sounds amazing. She's amazing. And she's saying when properly embedded, kindness causes your cognitive bandwidth to actually expand, and then it leads to fewer mistakes. So we really want to think about what is it that makes us up, what gives us energy, and it's different for everyone. So you just got to figure out what it is. I was saying I love being with my family. I love when my fridge is stacked with good nourishing food, when the vegetable crisper's not all liquidy from those rotting, you know, and unfortunately it does happen, we're busy. And when it's like that, I'm like, ah. So when everything's clean and clear, and I've made beautiful food for my big Labrador, Annie, I put mince and I grate carrot, I feel so good. That's my bandwidth, and I've been for a swim and I've been for a walk and I feel good. But unfortunately, life's busy, can't always be like that, but I aim for it to be like that as much as I can. Now, this is, a lot of people talk about resilience. A lot of educators like to talk about it as a grit, like a growth mindset. And the idea is learning from our mistakes. So grit is passion, and it's sustaining achievement for being able to be there for the long term. And this does combine resilience, ambition, and self-control. Some of my medical students have tried for like 7 years to get in to do medicine. Some of them got an OP15 and they've got that much grit. They've put themselves through other degrees, got their GPAs up and got in, and they're some of the best doctors that we'll see because that grit is ingrained in them. And you know what? They're not scared to make mistakes. Whereas some of our perfectionists, you can't make a mistake, and it's so debilitating for them, and it's hard. So what we want to encourage is this growth mindset, and for our children, for our friends, that it's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and we're going to learn from them. I love feedback. A lot of people don't. They find it really confronting. I love feedback because I want to improve. I try not to take it personally. Of course I do, because I'm a very empathetic person and I want to, you know, always be there. So when I do a wedding and just somebody in that audience comes up and says, oh, you did such a great job, that's just made my day, you know, because I just want to do a good job for the couple because I care so much, you know. So feedback, and when you see compliments and when you can give compliments, it's awesome. So, you know, you just don't realise what an impact it's going to make on somebody. So what you want to do is think about this growth mindset. We're all going to make mistakes, but it's okay to learn from those mistakes. Now, this was a Gold Coast University gynaecologist did this study of 751 obstetrics and gynaecology doctors working throughout Australia and New Zealand, and they used this established test of grit, which is another questionnaire similar to like a burnout questionnaire. And what he found, interestingly, those who had grit, so those who had that sustainment and that passion and learned from their mistakes, they were less likely to suffer burnout. So it is definitely protective. And so we want to encourage our young people to have this grit, to learn from mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. We've just got to learn from them. So that's an interesting, and all of these are here for you guys to have a look at these in full detail if you want to, but I've just kind of summarised the most important relevant findings. This is one of my medical students. She did psychology. She went on to do medicine, and then she became a psychiatrist, and then only survived 2 years. And this is what she said to me. For me, burnout was more the fear of making a mistake in an unsupported environment, as well as potential implications on patients' lives of potential mistakes, as well as the hours and the lack of ability for self-care. And she was a perfectionist. She couldn't stand making mistakes. So it's okay to make mistakes. We just got to learn from them. And it's also okay to say no, as hard as it is. We've got to know our boundaries and be ready to say, actually, no, I can't do this. Don't feel guilty. I've learned this. This is a good thing with aging. You start to realise, yeah, you have to be clear on your priorities and your values. And it's all right to say no. Like Brene Brown says, be kind with your communication. Thank you so much, but actually no. You just have to be clear. So I put this in here, you know, thanks so much for asking me. It sounds really great. Let me double check with my family and I'll get back to you. And then you can get back and say no, because I find it hard to say no on the first go. I'm sure some of you do as well. So really important to know your boundaries. And when you talk to Ben Crowe, so he says, once you know your values and your purpose, then don't compromise and use your boundary system to set that. So it is a worthwhile thing to go through all of these. Now, sleep is so important, and I'm an absolute fanatic about it, to the point where my children call me Karen of the night triggers, because I get really worked up if they're not sleeping and getting to bed at a certain time. I wonder if you guys have ever read the book. It's called Stranger in the Night. It's a true story of the last hermit to ever live in Maine, in America. This blew me away because he never wanted connection. He had a normal family upbringing, but he just decided at the age of 27 that he didn't want to live in community anymore. So he just took himself off into the bush and he lived there for 27 years. Now, when they found him, they arrested him, unfortunately. I thought, why couldn't they just leave him? Because he was happy, right? He was stealing, though. That was the problem. He was stealing food and newspapers and whatever else, but it wasn't much. But anyway, what they asked him, what's the greatest lesson that you learned in those 27 years by yourself? I was like, what is he going to say? And you know what he said? Get enough sleep. So I've taken that quote, I've put it up on the fridge at home. I'm like, look at what the hermit says. Isn't that incredible? After all of that time, get enough sleep. He spent a couple of years in jail. Now he's out and he's living by himself. And I'm just absolutely fascinated by him. So check him out, The Last Hermit, Christopher Knight. So if we sleep well, we function better the next day. So it's just, you know, exactly what it is. It's so important to rejuvenate us, and it's so important to keep us emotionally sound. I love the photo of that baby. They don't all sleep like that. We know that, but it's so cute. So we talk at uni about sleep hygiene, and I was blown away by my medical students who'd never heard this term, who didn't know how important it was to get devices out of your room. Anyway, so I've taught them that devices have to go away. I was just saying my device has been by my bedside table while my son got his license, how stressful, and then has been on schoolies. So I have had it in the room, but normally I leave it out of the room, and I try to always get off the computer an hour before bedtime because it does stimulate us. So it's really important to figure out. Some people can sleep through anything, and that's fine. But if you are having trouble, you want to think about your sleep hygiene. And it's okay to have a drink at night. You just don't want to have a whole bottle. That's what we were just talking about before. And we definitely, some people can drink coffee into the night, doesn't affect their sleep. I found 12 o'clock is the time, midday. I just can't drink after I'm just too wound up. And so you just got to figure out what it is for you that's going to give you quality sleep. And they do talk about having a set bedtime, keeping things nice and cool and relaxed. And exercise definitely helps. Melatonin release in the morning will help you get a better night's sleep. And then you're ticking the exercise box as well, and then that's going to help you sleep. And that's my segue to exercise, how important. You guys hear this. This is my son here. This year he did his Gold Duke of Ed in the rapids down in the Clarence Valley. How gorgeous is that photo? I really want to do it. It sounds great. So not only is it beneficial for our bodies when we move, but it's actually beneficial for our brains. Releases some beautiful, like a bubble bath of neurochemicals and neurotransmitters and growth factors. And the best news is, this is Wendy Suzuki, she's a neurologist who's done all this study and said only 30 minutes of aerobic exercise 4 times a week. We can all fit that in. We have to make it a priority if we don't want cognitive decline and we don't want our bodies. So when you exercise, just think, this is helping my brain, this is helping my body. And I'm so scared of getting Alzheimer's disease, but I'm more than happy to exercise to ward that off. My business partner, Kylie Armstrong, did her PhD in postnatal depression because she suffered herself. And she decided, with her exercise background, to do a pram walking group on the Gold Coast. And that's her study there, the direct association between improvement in fitness related to the improvement in depression of the mums. They just had a pram walking group, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, and it made a difference. So let's get moving. But you've got to find what it is that you like, whether it's walking, running, exercising early, exercising afternoon, just move the body, find what you like. Now, nourishment, and we all know the importance of eating good food. I love Dr. Michael Mosley. Anyone heard of him? Yeah. I put so many people onto him and his diets, and they've all lost weight and come away and kept the weight off and kept healthy. So please, if you're struggling, let me encourage you to follow him up. He talks about the Mediterranean diet. He talks about 5-2, so eating normally 5 days, trying to fast for 2. 800 calories, it's just kind of normal eating, and then fasting, the importance of fasting. So I follow what he does and I just feel so great for it. And it really does help my celiac disease, fasting. And then I've just got 2 friends who've just done the 8-week blood sugar diet. They've both lost 8 kilos. The diets work and they're healthy and they're manageable. So he's got heaps of resources online and really practical. So highly, highly recommend. And we know, and there's been numerous studies, what an impact eating good food has. And you know yourself when you eat something good, you feel great. Now this is where I live. This is beautiful Tallabudgera Creek. Has everyone been there? Wonder, yeah, isn't it divine? This was just when the kids were playing basketball. I went for a walk. Just like, look at that. That is so beautiful. And that's mindfulness, stopping, taking a photo and taking in the moment of the beauty. The other photo there is Stradbroke Island, which is also beautiful. And that's what I'm saying, it's just being present, being grounded, hearing birds, thinking about your breath, mindful eating, which we did. We've done the breath work with Jen. And I also encourage music, and that's what I do with my medical students. So before we do any simulation, we take 3 minutes of mindfulness. And do you know what? They're all not keen when they start, I'll be really honest. And by the end, so even after just a few weeks, they're saying to me, Nicole, you've got to do mindfulness. I'm like, this is amazing, this works. And it's not like you have to make extra time for it in your day, just have to start to think, I'm just going to slow down, I'm just going to get grounded. I was going to do one, but I might do a quick cylinder with you guys, like similar to what Jen did, just because we've got just a couple of minutes, and I just want you to think, so close, just get comfy in your seat, maybe shrug your shoulders, and I want you to imagine that you're a cylinder and break yourself into 3. So sort of from your knees is your bottom, and then you've got your torso, which is your middle, and then your top, which is your third. And we're going to fill that cylinder with beautiful breath. So if you feel comfortable to just close down your eyes and think about your cylinder. I want you to also think about what you've heard from both of us tonight and what you're going to take away. And then I want you to start by taking in a beautiful deep breath all the way down to the bottom of your cylinder, where your toes are. Feel your toes, your middle and your top fill with that life-giving breath. And hold it in your cylinder and then let it out through your mouth. And then let's take in that breath again through our nose. Beautiful life-giving breath all the way down to the bottom of our cylinder, to the middle, to the top. Hold it in our cylinder and then let it out. And let's take one more. Down the bottom, to the middle, to the top, and hold in our cylinder. And now just a beautiful deep breath in. And when you feel ready, just to open your eyes and arrive back into the space. Sometimes that's all it takes, just to stop, slow down, visualize. I work with the mindfulness guru. His name's Dr. Kwong Join Palms, and he's actually, if you go and check us out on ConnectedLE, I filmed him doing his 3 minutes mindfulness. He's incredible. So you can just follow that. There's so many, but his is really good. It's just 3 minutes and it's just visualizing and just being grounded and doing a body scan. He's very big into how you're feeling. So feel free to use that. All right, the other important term here is empathy, how important empathy is. And we know that we've talked non-stop about how kindness, empathy and caring for others really makes a difference in somebody's day. And this Adrienne Boise, she's a neurologist and she's also, I love this term, Chief Experience Officer in America at Cleveland Clinic. And she actually does the same thing that we do at Griffith Uni, and she found evidence-based that if you do empathy training with your staff, it makes a difference and it reduces burnout. And so she's saying it actually has to be taught. Remember people's names, actively listen, communicate and care, and you're going to see improvements. Now, here's some excellent free resources to share with you guys. There's so much on the internet, isn't there? But then it's hard to figure out where to go with it all. This is one of my best friends. She started, she's a naturopath and she started Well Nourished. Her recipes are hands down amazing. So you've got Dr. Michael Mosley's recipes and now you've got George's on Well Nourished. Incredible. Your family will love them as well. Yoga got me through COVID on the Gold Coast when we had the 6-week shutdown. I just did Adrienne's yoga with her little blue healer in the background. There's 10 minutes yoga, there's 30 minutes yoga, there's yoga for digestion, there's yoga for everything. It's all free. Couldn't believe it. And it's beautiful. She's so lovely. This guided meditation is my son Archie's favourite, and I've shared it with my medical students. They're like, Nicole, this is the best meditation because it takes you way up in a hot air balloon. You actually believe you're there. So if you're struggling to sleep, remember this guided meditation. Highly recommend. It is beautiful. He suffers from anxiety and has trouble sleeping, and honestly, it's really made a difference. I don't know if any of you love reading. I absolutely adore reading and I love going to my library, booking books. That just brings me so much joy and I just wanted to share that with you. And 3 of my top books, and I wonder, please share with me if you've read these. Has anyone read Any Ordinary Day? It's about coping with life after a tragedy. Sounds terrible, but it's absolutely beautiful because it gives you hope that if something awful was to happen in your life, you could get through it. So she interviews Stuart Diver, you know, in the Thredbo landslide, Walter Mikac, from the shooting down in Tasmania, and how they got on with their life, and it's just joyful. It actually is beautiful. Phosphorescence by Julia Baird is all about the ocean and things that are awe and wonder. Because I love the ocean, it really resonated with me. But the best Christmas present you could get someone is The Happiest Man on Earth, and that's the Holocaust survivor. Anyone read that one? Eddie Jaku. So he died this year at the age of 100, and you've never met a kinder man. I don't know how he survived, but he survived and he is so grateful for surviving. My whole family read it and loved it. So if you need, go to Big Dub, get yourself a Christmas present. It's amazing. And then I know everyone talks about reflective practice and journaling, but there's your ConnectedLE book. Put it in your drawer and maybe try and engage with it and write down your thoughts because it just helps make sense. It'll just help you with your bandwidth. And you can do it once a month. Or you can write down little notes and use it however you want, but please try and use it. Summary, all right, because I've gone through so much and I know it's overwhelming because there's this and that and you could try this, but even if you just try one thing, it will make a difference. So let's go through. So obviously we want to try and reduce the stress that we've got in our life. You've got to be kind to yourself. The words that you use are going to make a difference to your mindset. Think about what gives you energy. Think about what depletes it. Protect your bandwidth. Maybe write your feelings down. Don't ignore them. Talk to somebody. Someone else will be experiencing probably the same thing you are. Like I had undiagnosed celiac disease for 36 years. Goodness me, it made sense afterwards. My mum said, you never ate any pastries, pies. I used to know that made me sick. It was just that I was trying so hard to breastfeed a baby who in the end was failure to thrive. I felt so much shame and guilt, all because I hadn't looked after my own health. So don't ignore what's going on in your body. It's always good to get a checkup as well. It's probably the same. We'll work with doctors, we'll work in the health field, but we're the last people to go and get anything checked. So that's a good tip. Obviously, we've just gone over how important sleep, rest and nourishment are. And then you want to think about strategies to help you manage any challenges. So a mindful practice, it's just being grounded. You don't have to sit in a yoga pose. It's just taking note of things. This EFT is emotional freedom technique. It's tapping. It's evidence-based. It works for anxiety. I took my daughter to an exercise physiologist earlier this year just because she's this tall and was all stooped over. I thought the exercise physiologist might be able to help her because her name's Emily and she's a celebrity trainer. She coached the girl from Harry Potter. What's her name? My God, how have I lost it? You know the one, Hermione. But anyway, she coached her in London. So I thought, oh, my daughter will love her. And she did. She's lovely. And she said, Nicole, I'm actually going to do EFT. I was like, what is that? Anyway, it worked. 45 minutes. And Emmy loves a hike now. What? How does that happen? Anyway, I'm just sharing it with you. If you've got someone struggling, think about tapping. It is all about positive in the meridians and just saying this is okay to be tall. Yeah, tapping. Evidence-based. I just ran out of time to talk about it in full detail. Definitely live with purpose. Think about your purpose and think about your value system and be vulnerable. Lean in, ask for help, ask how others are going. Take a coffee to work tomorrow for someone. The best news is you can recover from burnout. It just takes time. And these are the two quotes that I love so much, and I want to leave you with this. It is exactly that Christine Porath who talked about bandwidth, and it's how you show up and treat people is everything. And then Dr. Amy Imms, you matter, really matter, your health matters and your life matters. So if you just take on one thing from tonight, or hopefully it's consolidated a practice maybe that you have. And then this little article here, there's 7 ways to start making kindness. Even just that, letting someone merge into traffic and giving them a wave will make someone's day. It really does work. It's amazing. So there's just so much to have a look at. You guys will have access to this PowerPoint to use some of those resources and double check them. And I just wanted to thank you all for opening your hearts, because I know sometimes it is hard to sort of go, oh gosh, she wants us to eat slowly, she wants us to now close our eyes. So I really want to thank you for being part. And does anyone have any questions? Does anyone journal before tonight? I'm just interested.
Used to.
Yeah, so maybe you'll get it back.
Well, yeah, it became dangerous. So we had to
Okay.
stop.
Okay, we don't want dangerous.
Right, I should do it.
Yeah.
It does work, that journaling.
Mhm.
I did it for the first time when I was doing nursing training, and on the first placement they asked us to. And it was quite confronting.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But it helps you make sense of how you're feeling, and that's powerful. Yeah. Helps us sleep better sometimes if we've got it out. Yeah. It's just trying what's going to work. That's what part of the practice that we do at Griffith Uni is we get our students to reflect. So whether we've done a simulation with an angry patient or an emotional patient, and then they have to write a 500-word reflection. And then I get to read them all, and it's so insightful. And you know what it does? It connects me even more with my students to know exactly what they're feeling and what's going on in their lives. And sometimes I write back to them. I'm just like, I can't believe you've got this going on. You know, they tell you about their cancer treatment, but what a great device for them to be able to open up and be vulnerable. Yeah, we can connect even more, which is what life's about. Yeah. I often say that in my weddings, you know, it's all about to love and be loved, and that's what we're here for. So we've got to open our hearts to connection. Thank you guys so much, and thanks for having us.